Morning, coffee talk.
Coffee talk
Let's
time.
get you. You're not in here. Sit back, get comfy, make sure we're in the frame. Hi, everybody. What's going on? Another episode of Coffee Talk with Coach Bronson and Coach Matt.
I should probably put this on the other side now.
Put it on the other side because your hair is over there.
Now that I switched the hair.
Okay, now this is good. I'm not OCD at all, but this wrinkle is gonna drive me crazy.
He's not OCD
Okay.
at all.
All right, so we are talking about some fun stuff today. One of the challenges that a lot of our clients and people we talk to have is making changes in what they're doing, and then those changes not working. And going, well, why the hell did I do that? What am I supposed to do? I don't know what's going to work. I've tried everything. We hear all these things.
Or then they make another change, and then they make another change, and then they make another change. Because this must be the thing, and that must be the thing. Because then they heard something else on social media, or somebody said something, and oh, that must be the thing I'm missing. Let me try that now. Let me try that now.
Right. So what we want to do is we want to give you guys some practical questions, practical things to think about, make sure that you're kind of looking at the whole picture of the change you want to make, what your life is like, where you're trying to go, all those things, to set yourself up as, what's the right word here, as best as possible.
To be successful. Set yourself up for success.
Yeah, just I wanted to put a qualifier on that, but I guess it doesn't work grammatically. Set yourself up for success right from the beginning, right before you make any changes, etc. So we don't want to make changes. Here's a ground rule. A ground rule. We don't make changes in what we're doing to improve our health based on how we're feeling emotionally in the moment.
Oh my gosh, that's it.
That just popped in my head. We hadn't talked about that.
Yep. I just talked about this with my ladies recently, as it related to making a plan for the holidays. Mm-hmm. So I have a food plan template that I totally stole from Glenn Livingston.
Good morning, everybody.
To Dr. Glenn Livingston. But it's a food plan template, so you can create your own food plan. So this doesn't mean macros or anything like that. It's specific to you and the foods you are choosing to eat and what you're choosing not to eat and what foods you might have conditions around. And so we applied this to the holiday. I talked about how to apply this to holiday planning. And for my ladies, I was saying, okay, if your food plan for Thanksgiving Day is, I am not going to indulge in any of the standard American diet desserts. I am bringing my own that I've made, and I will allow myself one serving or two servings of the one I made. And then that's your food plan going in. And then you go in, and then the other stuff looks yummy, and now you want to change the plan. One of the rules with this food plan is you have to sleep on it. So guess what that means when in context of the holidays?
Right.
The holidays, that day is going to be over by the time you get to sleep on it. You don't get to make emotional decisions in the moment about the plan you've created in advance. And this is to prevent that limbic emotional brain from taking over and making different choices than what you decided the plan was going to be.
It's like you go to the store to buy something, and then you get to the cash register and see all this other little stuff.
Buys,
right? Impulse buying. We don't want to be impulse planning.
Woo!
Okay, and that's really one of the biggest basic
things. The point of the plan
things.
is that it comes before the action.
Exactly.
You don't get to change the plan in the moment.
Okay, because remember, feelings aren't facts, and you can't make changes to your lifestyle routine, your goals, where you're going based on how you feel. Doesn't work that way.
Just like you better not make big financial decisions based on emotion.
Yes, that's why you don't go shopping when you're hungry. All of those types of things, right? Try to get that aspect out of it. So we're trying to help you critically think about the changes you want to make, plan ahead of time, and then have something that you can stick to once you make the plan, right? And then also remember, I made this plan, I'm going to commit to following it. So we need to remove as many challenges to following the plan in the front end as possible so you're not bumping into as many things along the way.
So what we're talking about today really is, what do you need to consider when making your plan?
Yep. And we're going to go over 5 things. Right? We've got 5 questions. Now, within these 5 areas or questions that you need to ask yourself before you make a plan, there's a lot of other little things. And we are going to get into some of them. Initially, we came up with this idea. And then I realized, wait a second, this idea is what I wrote about in the book.
It actually aligns.
Like, it aligns very well with my book, Body Confident. If you're not aware of that, go to Amazon, type in Coach Bronson, Body Confident. I published a book a couple months ago. And the 5 core concepts of my method, the F2 method, are where these questions align. Okay? And I'll go over them real quick, and then we'll get into them in a little bit more detail. So the first question you should be able to say yes to each of these things, okay? Is the thing I want to do, the change I want to make, specific to me? And the things I'm trying to improve, or the direction I'm trying to go in my life and my lifestyle? If you can say yes, it's probably a good thing. Is the change I'm looking to make going to encompass my lifestyle as in a holistic view? Or am I specifically looking at one little mechanism that I have to do to fix everything without taking into consideration my job, my life,
context,
my kids, my family, my routine, whatever else it may be? Is it based in concepts that have been proven to work? Or is it the next best biohack or product or thing
this new
that's been
hack
sold to me as this is the one thing you're missing to bring it all together, and if you get this, everything in your life will be better?
Oh yeah.
Because probably it won't.
Some new supplement or a new thing. Yep.
Is the change I'm going to make something that I can do forever? Now, we don't like to say forever often because that's big for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Let's say, can I do it consistently for a year? Can I do it consistently for 6 months without stopping? If you can't do it for 6 months, you're not going to do it for a year. If you can't do it for a year, you're definitely not going to do it for the rest of your life. Right? So,
and 9 times out of 10, a short-term change is not going to have long-term benefits.
Exactly. That's a whole nother, that goes back into the concepts thing.
So
if you stop doing it, that's part of the sustainability. If you stop doing it, will your results stop working, right?
Yep.
And then lastly, is the change I'm going to make measurable? That goes back in a little bit into the individual piece. What am I trying to get with this change? Specifically, and then if I do this, how do I know it's actually working for me?
How do I assess it and evaluate?
How do I assess it and evaluate? Can I track it? If you can't track it,
how are you supposed to know?
How do you
what
know
are
if
you
it's working?
expecting, right? Like, what are you expecting? Exactly.
All right.
So
those are the 5 things.
And when we talk about, it's not just making this big plan, but any change. And that's why it's titled, I think you titled it Any Change, before making any change.
Before making any change. Before making a change.
So a change to your existing plan. Because a lot of the time, the reason why you're not getting the results you want is because you keep making these small changes to your plan that are now shifting you that 1 degree in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Because you're chasing after maybe that new hack or what worked for somebody else, or all the things that don't align with these concepts. So even if you already have a plan you're following, I'm following keto, I'm following carnivore, lifestyle, whatever. But, so-and-so had success on high fat. So now I'm going to switch to high fat. Or I'm going to increase or decrease a macro, or I'm going to remove a food, or whatever it might be. This is how to think about making any change to what you're currently doing within your current plan.
Let's do this. Let's take that idea and walk through one change, how we look at each of these things.
Okay,
So
I like it.
I'm currently following, let's say, something that we get a lot of people. I'm currently following high fat, moderate protein, and I'm doing a lot of cardio. That's my current plan. Trying to get 10,000 steps a day. I'm eating moderate protein, and I'm eating 18 million grams of fat.
We should do it with someone who's not doing all that cardio. Like,
the
average person on keto that's not doing much exercise at all
Let's build something and then
Okay.
talk about how do we evaluate a change.
Because
Where do you wanna go
one
with?
of the changes could be, do I need to start adding cardio? I get that question a lot.
Right. Good. Okay. Yeah. It could also be, do I need to start doing more weight training? But however.
Right. All the
Okay.
different
So
things.
individual. So the question is, why do you want to make the change in the first place? What are you not seeing that you want to see? So if you are not doing cardio, you're doing high fat, and you're getting moderate protein, what is the change? And it could be different for some people. Some people feel like I don't have energy. Some people could be like, I feel weak all the time.
Well, and that's where the personal.
That's where the individual piece comes
Yep.
in. What is the change? So that's the first question. What are you trying to fix? Because it will change the options of you change. If you're struggling with, I'm not losing body fat, then you've got some possibilities. You can start doing some cardio. You can start building some muscle. You could reduce your fat intake, increase your protein. So there's a few different options there based on the thing that you want to do. If it's an energy thing, maybe just going to the gym and being more active and building up your body's ability to use the energy that you have could be the solution.
Let's go through question by question, and then we can give multiple examples for each question.
That's what I thought we were doing.
I thought we were doing go through this is your context, and then go through all the questions.
Well, then
I
question
think-
by question.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Go back
so
up
that's
so
what
I
I'm
can
looking at
see
for
what we're doing.
individual. I'm just like, what are the individual things? Oh, it closed.
I'm like, I'd like to see the notes. Where were we
There you
at?
go.
All right, so we're talking about
Individuals,
Understanding
background,
your
circumstances, motivation, and goals.
context, our favorite word.
Context.
So this is where you take something that could be arbitrary and you make it personal to you. Ooh, perfect example, and this might have been the thing that prompted this discussion, this topic. A lady in my group was asking if she should implement 10-minute walks after meals because she heard online that it's really good for blood glucose,
Right.
postprandial, post-meal blood sugar. But she has never tracked her blood sugar. She has no idea what her blood sugar is. She's been following a ketogenic carnivore animal-based diet for years.
Right.
And training consistently and already has all these other things dialed in. And the question was,
Should I?
does
be
it
doing
make
this?
sense for me to make this a goal? You know, I'm having some resistance to doing it. Should I push through that resistance and start doing it? Or does it even, is it going to be beneficial enough for me to push past my
Resistance.
not wanting to do it and actually do it?
That's a really interesting concept. This could be a whole nother.
Thread.
Sometimes the resistance we have, and this is a nuance, and I'm not saying that all resistance is like this, but sometimes the resistance we have to doing something is because we don't need to be doing it in the first place.
That's exactly the way I talked about
Right.
it with her, was in her context, understanding her and her lifestyle and all of that. This could be something, and for many of my ladies who stress out when you make a change,
Yeah.
or overthink, or over analyze, right? Or
Complicate.
always add a new challenge when you've gotten to a really beautiful place and maybe you just need to hang out there for a while and do what you've already dialed in. Do you need to add another thing? Do you need to dial in further? Do you need, in her case, it was, well, if blood sugar is not even a concern for you, why are you even considering this?
Right.
And that's where the first question comes in is, why am I considering this? What do I believe it's going to do for me within my context?
Yes. So that's the first question. And it's all about you. This is the whole idea of the very first question is, what is your why? What is your context? Why do you want to do it? What are you looking for?
What are you looking
Is that
for?
the
Yes.
only way, the last concept is measuring, right? The only thing that matters, the only thing that measures, the only thing that creates success is how did the change help you get where you wanted to go? So the beginning is where do I want to go?
Where do I want to go? Yes.
And then the end is, am I getting there?
And
Anything else in
this
between doesn't matter if those two things don't match.
Is this thing going to help me get there?
Yes, that's the connection point. All right, then the next thing we have is, it keeps closing. I should have printed it out.
And one more piece on that is there are a million things that you could discover through research, through reading, through watching videos, through taking courses, whatever it might be, that are healthy habits.
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean that every single person needs to be doing
all
of these things all of the time?
Right.
You know, you might here's a good one for carnivores, keto and carnivore people. Do I need to cut out coffee?
Never.
We've done that before.
I've tried it before, and
when we really wanted
I didn't really notice a difference.
We
other
wanted
than life sucked.
to determine for ourselves whether that would benefit us in any way. And we weren't also doing 5 other things.
Correct. And that's actually a good segue into the next thing, the comprehensive piece, because one of the things that we tend to do is we tend to do this and do that and do this and do that and do this and do that, right? I'm going to make a change, so I'm going to change 5 different things at the same time.
Because I want results faster.
Because I want to do it all. If the change you're making causes a disruption in your lifestyle that is greater than the problem you're trying to fix, what's the point of making the change?
Oof.
Okay? If you are causing more stress and complexity in your life than the problem you're trying to replace, it's a net negative. You're going the opposite direction. You're doing more than you need to be doing. Small changes moving forward over time. What was the, I just heard you on a call talking about it the other day, buildings on success, stacking habits, right? Stacking success, stacking, I'm doing this for a while. It becomes natural to me. It's part of my everyday life. I don't have to think about it anymore. That's when you're ready to add something else. When you're trying to add 3 or 4 things all at once, a couple things happen. One, it's too much work. It's complex. It's stressful. You get frustrated and it's too much for you to maintain. And then
that goes into
which goes into the sustainable piece. But then also you don't know what's actually working. Is it this that's making the progress? Is it this that's causing the progress? Which one is it? If there's any progress, if you even make progress, because now you're doing more and you may go backwards. So there's a lot of stuff when you're doing too much at once and you're not looking at what is the impact in my whole life that I'm trying to change and that I need to fit into the other things. Here's a big mistake a lot of people make. I want to start going to the gym. So I'm going to go to the gym every day and do this. Oh, but I forgot I've got kids that I have to do this with. I've got this event. I've got that. I've got this. And then now they're trying to juggle all of these things. They never talk to their spouse or their partner about, hey, I'd like to start doing this. How can we fit this in?
Oh my gosh, yes.
They never worked out the other aspects of their lifestyle and how they can make these changes work. Right? So that when we talk about comprehensive, am I including my life in this decision?
And it's another way you could frame that question is, what are the things that are going to get in my way when I start with this new change or this new plan?
Identify your challenges ahead of time.
Literally look at your calendar for the week ahead.
Yep.
When you're getting ready to start something new, what everybody does it on a Sunday or a Monday, right? So look at the next 7 days of your life.
Yeah.
What is on the calendar that is going to make it difficult for you to make it to the gym 4 or 5 or 6 days this week? Maybe it's more realistic to commit to 3 days or 2 days, or if you've been doing nothing, 1 time this week.
Yep.
Or 5 minutes a day of something rather than an hour-long workout 5 days a week.
Yeah. And this is going to lead into the next one, which is be concepts based. Am I following concepts or am I trying to be strict to a protocol? These two tie together really well in that example, because if you make a plan and say, I looked at my calendar this week, I'm going to the gym 4 days a week. What about next week? What about the week after? Is the goal to go to the gym 4 days a week, or is the goal to consistently go as much as you possibly can? If the concept of going to the gym and making the gym a lifestyle is the goal, then maybe this week it's 4 days, maybe next week it's 3 days, maybe the week after it's 5 days, maybe the week after it's 1 day. But it's the evaluation of how do I fit the concept of being active at the gym, a regular occurrence, as opposed to being strict and adhering to, if I don't get to 4 days, then I might as well not go at all.
I'm a failure, never mind, it didn't work.
Right.
That right there is the key that will stop you. If you think about it in advance and you plan in advance this way to be more realistic about your expectations for yourself, it will severely reduce the potential for you to then become defeated and deflated, and all the words I hear women use, and then quit because you failed. You're a failure. You couldn't do the way too high expectation level of things you were putting on yourself, and then you get so defeated from that you just don't go back for 6 months. It would be much better if you thought about it in advance, made a realistic plan, recognize that things could get in the way and keep you from doing it 100% the way you think you need to, and that continuing is more important than perfection. This is the progress.
This is not exactly. This is a really good way to kind of set yourself up to not fall for the perfection trap and just be worried about being consistent.
And this is where we'll see new members join, and then after the first week, they don't hold up what they think was their end of the bargain. I didn't do all 4 days of workouts. I think this was not a good idea. I need to just give me my money back. I can't do this right now. I'll just have to start again later. Did you go once? Did you go twice? Was it more than what you were doing before you joined the program? You don't have to quit.
That's what
entirely just because you didn't do all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, we look at programs, protocols, and we think we have to meet the entire thing in its, every little thing that's in a program, and we forget that. Why did we start the program? What were we looking to get out of the program?
Because you probably never considered these questions in the first place.
Right.
You just dove into something without asking yourself these questions.
Here's an example. This may or may not relate, but if you ever taken a training, you sign up for a course, you go get a certification, or you want to get some training, or maybe for work you had to go, whatever.
Me get certifications.
Yeah, right. What I like to do is anytime I sign up for something, I want to define what do I want to get out of this before I sign up for it. Because here's the thing. Many times, particularly in this space, there's a lot of information that I already have experience and I know. So I'm not going into it in a lot of cases to learn something, but there's something specific. I like this course because I saw this piece of it or this piece of content, and I want to focus on that part of that thing, right? Like you did you've got the menopause course.
Yep.
There are some specific things in there you were looking for.
I was looking for it, yep.
Most of the there was other stuff in there that didn't apply.
Yeah.
But the specific things you were looking for, you're like, I'm going to soak that in.
So I can hone in on that.
She didn't not do the whole thing.
I just skipped over the parts.
This is what I'm trying to get. Or when you're reading a book.
Yeah.
What are you trying to get out of that book? Do I need to read the whole thing, or do I just want to get the specific things out of here that I'm looking for that I need right now?
You know what I like to do when I'm about to invest money in something? And I think this is the reason why so many people are so quick to quit when they're not doing 100%. Because when you put money down for something, there's this pressure that you think is going to be the thing that makes you do all the work that you weren't doing before. Right?
Yeah.
You think this pressure of the investment or the pressure of being a part of a group or the pressure of a coach seeing it is going to make you take action. And y'all, that couldn't be further from the truth.
No.
What ends up happening is now you have all this extra stress and added pressure that might make you less likely to take action. So one of the things I like to consider is, okay, worst case scenario, I spend my money on this thing. What is the minimum that I want to get out of it? And for example, the menopause certification, I could say, the information that I was trying to glean, that would probably be like a moderate level of like, that's the most important reason why I'm doing it. So it's a higher level, but the minimum level would be, well, I can get some CEUs for this that I can use to renew my
Other certs.
personal training certification and things like that. So it's like at the minimum, the bare minimum, I'm going to get this benefit out of it.
Yep.
Maximum benefit, I'm going to become an expert in training for women in menopause and postmenopause, right? Moderate level, I'm going to learn something new that I didn't know before about the menopause transition. Now I have kind of three things, and this kind of is going to get
That's
into
awesome.
the
That's
measurable
awesome. Yeah,
piece,
no, that's
right?
a good way to look at it.
So when I'm measuring it later, I don't beat myself up because, for instance, I haven't finished that certification. And it's like, well, I jumped to the parts I wanted to. I was a little disillusioned by, what I wasn't learning. And then I just got a reminder that my certification for my CPT is coming up soon. And I'm like, oh, there we go. There's another little push to say, okay, remember that minimum that I was
minimum
looking
benefit,
for.
yep.
I'm going to complete it because I want to at least get that benefit out of it. So it kind of helps you evaluate, where am I at with things? How much of a priority is this still with those first couple of concepts, right?
Yep.
As it relates to the rest of my lifestyle. Earlier this year, when I was prepping for a show, launching new programs, managing clients, the certification became lesser of a priority. I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm horrible for not completing that. I should have gotten that done by now. Screw it. Never mind. I'll just never do it. No, it's just reevaluate.
Yeah.
You know?
But you can't do that if you haven't defined what are the things you're expecting. What are you trying to get out of it? You got to always start with the why.
Yep.
Okay. Sustainable. We talked about that a little bit. Start small.
Did we talk about
We talked about
concepts?
concept. Yeah, because that was the whole.
Oh,
Well, we can real touch on that again. Real
concepts
quick. Concepts versus protocols. You guys
protocols.
know, you've heard it a million times. You're going to hear it a million more times. Concepts, okay, over protocols.
I have another great example.
Yep.
Do you have something you have to get out?
No, I was just, principles over protocols, concepts over protocols. The reason the reason all the different protocols are successful aren't because of the protocols, they're because of the foundational things that they're helping you achieve.
Yes.
Okay.
So for a perfect example, a group that a lot of my ladies come to me from had a,
Why don't you want to say it?
because I don't want to hate. I'm not going to hate.
Okay. All right.
It has its merits.
If you're watching and you're from that group,
You already know.
You already know.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Had a very specific protocol.
Lift heavy.
With rules, like food rules, training rules, and a lot of while there was explanation, there was a whole manual you could read. It was very much like an encyclopedia. So a lot of people didn't read it cover to cover, right? So the emphasis was on follow what we say because we are the experts. The emphasis was not so much
There was not a lot of individual consideration.
Understanding why you're doing these things and applying it to your context.
Yeah.
So perfect example with food, for example. Within the keto context, it was real food, no dairy, no nuts. So no packaged processed anything, no dairy products, no nuts, no snacking. Snacking is for, treats are for dogs. I mean, all these kinds of rules, right? And these ladies just committed the rules to memory.
And
And then started to do a lot of, what's the term I'm looking for?
internalization.
Internalization, making it mean something about you if you couldn't stick to the rules.
Yes.
Right? And then just beating up. Why can't I follow this? Because you were never encouraged to consider, do I need to be doing all of these things from day one? Maybe for me, dairy is not an issue right now, or I'm not ready to even explore whether dairy is an issue for me right now. Maybe I don't have any problem moderating cashews like Coach Bronson and Nat do. Maybe I can eat a handful.
Don't put a can of cashews in front of me, boy. I'm telling you right now.
I do not bring cashews into this house.
Nope.
But if you have no problem eating a tablespoon of peanut butter and weighing it out, which now I can do, which once upon a time I couldn't, then maybe removing those things that rule is not that important to you. Maybe you can include some keto snacks, keto labeled packaged foods, and you don't go crazy on them and they don't cause all kinds of inflammation in your body. Or maybe they do, but that's just not where you are in your journey yet. You get to decide these things rather than just taking what somebody else is saying, their protocol, and saying, well, this is what I have to follow or else there's something wrong with me.
Yeah. Well, there's another piece to the concepts idea. Understanding that concepts are universal and they can be applied based on your needs, but they don't represent you as a person.
Well, here's
right?
Taking that same example, why are they recommending no dairy, no nuts?
Yes.
Maybe it's reduce, maybe the concept rather than the rule or the protocol is reduce inflammatory substances in your diet.
That's the idea. Why? We got to ask the why. Why is this the thing? What is the purpose? And do I need that?
Could I implement that in a different way? If I am currently consuming pounds of French fries from Five Guys.
Right. Is it the French fries or is it the cashews or peanuts that's causing the problem, right? Here's another example. The concept of increasing your protein doesn't mean go PSMF. You don't have to do a protein sparing modified fast just because someone said you need more protein. That doesn't mean cut everything else out and just shove protein in your face.
It also doesn't mean now I'm only going to eat chicken breast and egg whites.
Exactly. So the idea of how can you, it's the letter of the law versus the intent of the law.
Shout out to Neil, Coach Neil.
What's up, Neil?
Who literally
you literally just said that. I totally did not see that when I said that. Great minds think alike, Neil. Stop it. That's awesome. It's the letter of the law versus the intent of the law. Absolutely. So we don't need to follow the letter. What is the intent? What are we trying to do? Right?
Yep. And then consider your own context, your own lifestyle in your implementation of that concept.
Okay.
Great. Okay.
Sustainable. Is it sustainable? So we talked about this a little bit. One of the two pieces, there's kind of two things. One is don't make a lot of changes. Don't make big changes. You've heard us talk before about your comfort zone, and you don't have to make a running leap to get as far outside your comfort zone as possible. That's what a lot of us do.
Yep.
Oh, I got to get out of my comfort zone. It has to be the literal most uncomfortable thing I could possibly think.
Opposite of what I'm doing right now.
No. There's a line. Think of a circle. Draw a circle on a piece of paper. And then put a dot on one side of the circle and a dot on the other side of the circle. That's all you got to do. Just get outside. Every step outside your circle, the longer you stay there, give that circle time to expand around you again.
I like that.
And then step outside. Let the circle expand, step outside. Let the circle expand, step out. Just repeat that process.
That question, can I do this for 6 months? Can I do this for a year? That alone, if all you asked was that question, it would encompass a lot of the other things, right? Because if you can't realistically with your lifestyle commit to 6 days a week in the gym every week for the next 6 months, you already kind of answered some of the other questions.
Yeah. Why not? Why can't you do that? Why can't you commit to that?
Exactly.
What are the things that are in the way? How do you make that work? What can you commit to? What could you make work? If you can make 4 days work, but you can't make 6 days work, can you make 4 days work every week, or does it need to be adjusted? You got to start asking these questions.
It gets you thinking.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And then the other one is the sustainability. Here's another sustainability piece. If I decide to go lion diet,
beef, salt, and water, for those that don't know,
can I maintain that for 6 months? And will I beat myself up if I have some cheese, or if I have some eggs, or if I have some bacon, or if I have a protein shake, God forbid?
Have you now failed lion for the entire time you've done it? Or did you do it 6 days out of 7 or 21 days out of 22 or 29 out of 30, and you've now said you failed for the last month.
Or is lion diet where you need to go? Can you say, I'm going to eat an animal-based
Yes.
whole foods diet where I'm going to prioritize red meat and eliminate X, Y, or Z? Does
Or
it
maybe
have to
there's
be so strict?
one thing you can try eliminating that look, we all really know. If we looked at the low-hanging fruit, what is the one thing that if I was going to eliminate anything or reduce,
Right.
not even eliminate, but reduce my consumption of this one food that I think is holding me back, most of us could probably list 5 different things, food-wise,
At least 5.
nutrition-wise,
At least 5.
that we could reduce or eliminate that would help
Improve our health.
without having to
how
go
many,
to extremes.
right, and how many times do we see in groups all the time? I'm starting this, I'm starting that, I'm starting this. It's like, what if you just stopped eating peanut butter for a couple of weeks? What if you just stopped trying to stop eating berries and see what happens? Right? What if you stopped eating cheese? What if you started eating more red meat instead of chicken?
Yes.
Because it's not always about stopping.
Yes.
Sometimes it's about doing something more that you haven't been doing.
Maybe if you've been doing lion, maybe you expand to say, okay, beef and lamb. Other ruminants.
That's another one. What if you stopped intermittent fasting and you started eating 3 meals a day? I'm going to say that again. What if you stopped intermittent fasting and you started eating 3 meals a day? Because maybe it's the intermittent fasting on purpose instead of letting your body do it naturally that's keeping you from getting the nutrition that your body needs.
Yes, or if you're currently eating from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed, maybe what if you just stopped that last meal a couple hours before bed?
Yeah.
Or backed up that last meal 1 hour before you're currently eating your last meal of the day. These small incremental things could make a difference if you evaluate them individually. And that's a good segue into our last one, which is the measurability.
Measurability, is that a word?
I think so.
If she says it's a word, it must be
I believe so.
Measurability. I guess it would. I guess it's a word. It's one of those words like I don't
haven't heard it said that way.
Yeah, measurability. I don't think I've ever heard that word before, which is weird in what I do. We do a lot of measuring of things. So what is measurability?
Your ability to measure.
Oh my God. Okay.
Tracking.
Ooh, that's the word I was looking for. That's the word I was looking for.
So that you can assess, evaluate, and determine whether any further changes need to be made. Ultimately, it's whether or not is this thing working.
Yeah.
Is it accomplishing the purpose that I set out to accomplish? Is it achieving the reason why, that very first question, is it accomplishing the purpose of establishing this new habit? And this is why doing one thing at a time, changing one thing at a time is so important, because it is virtually impossible to measure when you are changing multiple variables or factors. Neil said it's a word now. That's right.
Yes. I like how you, again, reiterated the whole changing one thing at a time. It's super important. And like you said, asking the sustainability questions kind of leads into this as well, because if you're doing a lot of things and there's a lot of things you want to do and you're evaluating, well, that may be too much, then that's going to help on the measurability side too. Yeah. Right? I automatically am cutting things down when I'm evaluating the sustainability piece. I know I think you have on your schedule a talk on tracking that you want to do.
Literally tomorrow night, my next masterclass is about why we track, why you should track. And that's a lot of people have a resistance to tracking, whether it's tracking macros, nutrition, just food journaling, food logging, taking progress photos, stepping on the scale. And I did a whole masterclass just about the scale. But this one's going to be about tracking macros specifically, and then in general also tracking macros and tracking metrics in general, all the different
I
metrics.
feel like I could play your forums like a guitar. And I wanted to just touch on that tracking piece, because I know you're going to talk about it in your masterclass, so I don't want to dig too deep into it. But I want everyone to understand that measuring is so important that I have a saying that if you're not tracking, you're not trying. Okay?
What is not measured cannot be managed.
Exactly. And here's the thing. If you have resistance to tracking, it's not the tracking you're resisting.
That is exactly what the class is about.
It is avoidance of taking ownership of your decisions.
Yep. You want to bury your head in the sand
and just not be
look
faced with the actuality of what your choices are doing for you.
Oh, can I give a great example?
Sure.
That hit me in the gut this week.
What's that? Do I know about this?
You do know about it.
Okay. I'm like, wait a second, what's going on?
I, as a business owner,
Okay. Oh.
I avoided dealing with my business finances for a very long time, including not filing my taxes. It is now costing me thousands more dollars on the back end because I didn't want to look. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to deal with it. I had all of this anxiety around it, and so I avoided it. And that is what is happening with most of you when it comes to your health, your body, your fitness, your nutrition. You don't want to look at it because it's uncomfortable to look at. I knew that I had problems in my finances. I didn't want to see it, and it cost me so much more in the long run. It's not worth it. The most important thing that you all need to be doing in your lives, in any area that you are currently struggling or you currently know is a shit show, because I knew it was a shit show, is face it. You have to face it.
This goes back to what we talked about last week, the emotional thing, right? I mean, every problem that you have is always going to be a problem until you deal with it. And if you're struggling and you're not aware of what is actually happening, i.e. measuring and tracking and pulling the data in, then you can't fix the problem. So I'll let the rest of your...
keeping yourself stuck.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the same concept we always talk about, which is, it's all on you. It is your responsibility. And while that is a scary concept because it means you have to step up and do something and take action on these things, it's also a liberating concept.
Oh, absolutely. You are in complete control.
Because that means nobody else and nothing else is in control of your success but you.
Bingo. It's all about you guys. I don't think that's it. That's this whole message. And that is what everything we talk about is about, guys. Right? Without trying to get too sappy, everything that we talk about is to help you take ownership of what's happening, be the CEO of your body.
Own your journey,
and
as I like to say.
Because you can and you have the power to do it.
And life is so good on the other side, guys.
Oh my gosh.
It is so good on the other side.
Speaking of which, you want to talk about next week?
Yes.
We're gonna have a good one next week.
Teaser.
Have a good one next week. So
innuendo there. Double entendre.
Double entendre. So that was this week. 5 questions. Next week we're gonna talk about sex.
Let's talk about sex, baby.
Oh my gosh,
Let's talk about you.
So this came up in a talk. Was it last week it came up? We talked about sex should be a biomarker. If you're not looking at sex as a thing. I don't remember where it might have been last week or the week before.
But we have talked many times about how we need to do a coffee chat.
We need to do a sex talk.
We need to talk about sex. Yeah. We need to have this discussion.
So
finally, we're doing it.
Save this. Next week, we're going to do it. What is today's date? Today's
the 8th, so it'll be...
So the 15th?
Yes.
Okay, so the 15th of December, we're going to talk about why
Your sex life
should be on your list of biometrics to track.
Ooh, I can do a little teaser in my masterclass tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of aspects about sex, guys. If you don't have a good sex life, we need to talk. All right. See you.
See you next week.